Here we are Sunday night again. We got a really good show for you here. Can't wait for it to start. Oh, it started. Hey, what's happening out there? So we got Marcell Strbich going to be joining us here at 7:30. Looking forward to talking with him. Boy, I can't believe that the primary is here already. Primary is here,
Hello,
man. 2 more days.
I see you're in downtown Cleveland, I see, with your background. Wow, that's really nice.
He gave himself an office upgrade.
Look at that. What a view. The terminal
Spare
tower.
no expense.
Yeah, right. I spent.
Hey, guys.
I spent so much. Actually, what it took was about 20 minutes on Chat GPT, and then you got any kind of background you want. But I tell you what, as much as I hate those data centers, as much as I just cannot stand the data centers, they do some pretty good stuff for us, I got to admit. I have a lot of reservations about getting rid of them, but yeah, that's a topic for a whole another day. Hey,
yeah, but do we need 2,000 of them in Ohio using up our water and our electricity? I don't think so.
Yep. Using up our water.
Gotta be a limit.
And everything.
Right.
We got election night coverage coming up. I don't know if you guys are aware of this, but Tuesday night, election night coverage. Look at this. We're going to be following it. Vivek and Casey right there.
What time are we starting, Joe?
7 o'clock. We're going to start at 7 o'clock.
Okay.
Joe, are you saying my election isn't important enough to include my image on the teaser banner?
Oh, man.
Yeah, I'm not sure about that. I'm not sure we're going to. I don't know if we have room for it, to be honest with you.
County Central Committee, after all.
Okay, here's another one we're going to be keeping close tabs on. Sprague and Strbich. Again, Marcell's going to be joining us at 7:30. We're going to talk about this. This is an interesting race. He is really going to upset the apple cart if he wins. I'm talking about Marcell. If Marcell can pull that out, the Ohio Republican Party is going to be going, it's just going to be like, what happened? The world is ending. So
we
we'll
might
see.
have valid elections.
One of the things is when I go out and about, I see a lot of yard signs for Marcell. Not a lot, but I will occasionally see a yard sign for Marcell Strbich. But I have yet to see one for Robert Sprague. I haven't seen any yard signs anywhere. But Sprague is big on, what is he doing? He's doing a lot with TV and radio and with mailings and things like that. So he is spending the money just in a different way. But it's really good to see the yard signs, because that to me that says something. It says that you got grassroots support. Here's another race we're going to be covering real close on Tuesday. Jay Edwards and Christina Rogner for the treasurer, and that's a close one. I don't know if you guys any betting odds on that one. Any idea? What do you think, Brian? If you had
it seems like
pick
50-50, but I haven't done any polling. There's so many other things going on. I honestly, I hear more about Jay Edwards than I do Christina Rogner.
Okay.
I don't know if that's meaningful or not. But
Yeah. Don't know about
just
that one. Don't know about that one. Jonathan, what do you think about these Ohio Supreme Court? This one I have no clue on, because
I do.
Okay, who's going to win?
Well, I don't know that I have a prediction, but I've got information. So I went information gathering and looked into all 4 candidates, and it basically boils down to this. For the last couple of months, all 4 candidates have been trying to out-conservative the other candidates, going out there with stump speeches talking about how great they are for Ohio, that they are true constitutional conservatives. However, in my book, in my research, one comes out above the others, and that's Jill Lanzinger. Lanzinger did some very interesting things that absolutely appealed to me during COVID. She kept her courts open. She kept her courtrooms open. She didn't buy into the madness of mask mandates, the jab mandates. She was continuing pretty much business as usual. And then in a very visible fashion, I don't remember the connection, I think it was a family member or something, but there was a wedding that took place right in the height of COVID. And she just announced to the world, you know what? I'm going to this wedding and I'm just going to go and enjoy myself. This is important. This is family. So forget about you wackos like Amy Acton out there who were saying you needed to be 6 feet of distance and 3 masks and have injection every couple hours for the experimental.
Now wait, how you talk? Wait a minute.
Do any
Wait.
of that stuff.
Yeah, now
So-
you shouldn't be bad mouthing her. She could be our next governor.
Well, I'm going to continue to badmouth her. What are you kidding me? I'm already bad. I badmouth our current governor.
She could
who
be
is
our next
not-
governor, man.
Stop trying to jinx Ohio. It's bad enough. Things have gotten bad enough in Ohio. We don't need Amy Acton to make things worse. What we need is to get an actual.
Now I got a question
real-life
for you. Wait a
Republican
second.
up.
I have a very important question.
Yeah.
If she were to win, I'm just saying, if she were to win, then of course there would be lockdowns. But who do you think she would pick as her health director? Would she pick Mike DeWine as her health director? Wouldn't that be hilarious? That would be that's prime time right there.
So he could be her little puppet then.
Yeah, we just
Wouldn't that be ironic?
that would be crazy. I want to say
Well,
this too.
he could keep the fraud, waste, and abuse going in Ohio, though. That's just the cost of doing business for DeWine.
Right, it's just
That's
the
what
cost.
they're all there for.
Cost. I couldn't believe he said that. At least his administration said that. All the fraud, waste, and abuse, that's just part of doing business here in Ohio. Maybe that's part of doing the business in Ohio if you're a governor who's been in the public sphere his whole life and he doesn't know what the private sector is all about. But, well, in the private sector, they are constantly monitoring every dollar and cent. And we get to the public sector, it's like, throw all that to the wind. Who cares, right? Oh, we lose $1 billion here. We lose a couple million here. Who cares? No
They
big
want
deal.
to burn through it as fast as possible, apparently.
Hey, Joe, can I tell everybody we're going to have a panel discussion in Middlefield tomorrow, Monday. It's going to be at the Heritage Marketplace, 15864 Nauvoo Road in Middlefield, featuring Commissioner John Plechnik, Mayor John Marr of Timberlake, and they even invited me along too. So anybody in Middlefield or surrounding areas want to talk about property taxes, even if you don't agree with us, show up so we can talk about it.
Okay, so Middlefield tomorrow, and
For
you
anybody
6:30,
that
it
doesn't
starts
know
at
where
6:30.
Middlefield is. Middlefield is in Geauga County, which is just south of Lake County and just to the south and east of Cuyahoga County in Cleveland. So if you're in this area, Northeast Ohio, Ashtabula, Lake County, Cuyahoga, Trumbull, in this area, Middlefield is a beautiful destination. Brian and crew will be there. And I know from experience and from Brian's stance on this issue, he will do what the other side doesn't do, which is engage in conversation and debate the topic. The other side, which we've seen time over and over again, the other side, the doomsayer, scare tactics side, trying to fight the abolishment of property taxes, they won't allow conversation. They won't allow opposing viewpoints. They stage these one-sided public forums where all they do is just drill down and try to scare people into trying to be afraid of abolishing property taxes. So come tomorrow, whatever your opinion.
Yeah. I saw on the chat they said, have dinner first at Mary Yoder's. I've been to that restaurant many times, and it is. I give it a big thumbs up. So come out to Middlefield, and we're going to get a chance to talk, hopefully, to the Amish community. I hope there's a lot of members of the Amish community. I hope they are there because I have tried many times to talk to the Amish community about what is happening in the state of Ohio. Their community is at risk.
well, they got to pay property
And they need to
taxes
know
like
that.
everybody else. Correct.
Yeah, they're also big in the big in the families and farms, and that's really what's under attack. In the state of Ohio with these data centers, ever increasing property taxes. Boy, they could put a serious hurt on the Amish community, and I would hate to see that. I really enjoy seeing their community.
Okay, but their community, I got a question for you then. Is their community, do they get out and vote? Do they follow elections?
Some do,
the
some
Amish?
some do, some don't. I don't really have an answer for that. I'm not. I don't quite understand that. There's probably a religious reason, behind that. But if you're not voting, you can't control your own destiny. So
Yeah.
you're just letting the government decide how you shall live.
Well, it is going to be an important and exciting day on Tuesday night. And like I said, we're going to have coverage right here on Ohio Political News. So tune in, be a part of it, and keep the chats going. I like to see those chats flipping and everything there at the bottom of the screen. So if you have something to say it. And if you have a personal favorite candidate or something, go ahead and put that up there too. I'm particularly interested in this group here. I have no idea who's going to win this. Ron Lewis, Jill Lanzinger, Andrew King, Colleen O'Donnell. Boy, what a toss-up there as to who could pull that one off. Let's see. I got some signatures from the Amish women that were in a choir that I belong to.
Oh, that's a nice sign. I like that.
Yeah, that is good. All right, so we'll move on to Congressional District 9. I want to talk about this for a minute because this is a congressional district that has a chance of gaining another seat for the Republicans. This is the U.S. House, and we're talking about the Toledo area where Marcy Kaptur is currently residing. It's her throne. She lives there, and she's been there forever. Okay, she's been on the throne forever. So it's time to kick her off. We have Derek Merrin, who's running in House District 9. We have Josh Williams. To me, those are the two front runners that are going to be competing for District 9 to go up against Marcy Kaptur in November. Now, let me just give you a little bit of background of these two guys for a minute here. Derek Merrin, he's 40 years old, so he's young. Now, get a load of this. When Derek Merrin was 20, he was on city council already in Waterville. And then at the age of 22, they elected him as mayor. He became mayor of Waterville. Anyhow, he was Ohio's representative for 8 years. He maxed himself, term limited out. He's for high-paying jobs, economic growth for the Toledo area. But now here's the problem I have with him. Is that he lost. He lost to Marcy Kaptur 2 years ago by 2,300 votes. And he kind of brags about that in a way, saying, look how close I came. But that doesn't cut it when you get into politics. Okay, you can lose by 2,300 votes, but you lost. All right? There is no second place in politics. That's the one reservation I have with Derek Merrin. Now you say, Joe, you're pretty rough on the guy because Marcy Kaptur's been there forever, but this is a Republican-leaning district. And it was like that 2 years ago. It leaned Republican. So you got to win. And so what they did was they redrew the maps, and now it's even more Republican. So you got Derek Merrin trying again. And it is rare that you get a second chance like that because the big money donors do not want to throw money at a candidate a second time, especially in a district they should have won, or at least the probably should have won. Anyhow, he's raised $757,000, which is pretty good. He's raised that, and he's got about $190,000 on hand. And if we move over from him to Josh Williams has $851,000 raised, and he's got about $50,000 less on hand, about $135,000. All right. So Josh Williams, he's a current state representative. He's not seeking re-election. He's going to go for U.S. House seat. And he was the first black Republican elected to the Ohio House in 50 years. Maybe I should say that again. He was the first black Republican elected to the Ohio House in 50 years. You got to go back a long way to find one. That's one of the problems, right, that we have with the Republican Party. We've got to start bringing in more minorities. Now, Josh Williams is, he is black, so we got to bring more more African Americans in. We got to bring more of the Latinos and Mexicans, whoever. But we have to become more minority centered, definitely, if we want to continue with the Republican Party.
Wait a minute.
Now,
I don't think that that's really been a problem on our side of the aisle. I mean, I think back that we've had a very active and robust conservative, Latino, black conservative all throughout time and history. So wait a minute. Go back and re-say that. Say that again.
Well, okay. Now,
Williams was the first.
Yeah, listen to this here. He was the.
I don't think that's right.
You don't think that's right?
The odd, so the strange thing, like all the hypocrisy of the left, is they, just like the presidential election of, remember 2016, where they were talking about how the Republicans are a whole bunch of white conservatives, and the whole lineup of all the people, what was it, 17 people originally ran, and it was like, there was a gay guy that did the debate. There was black, Hispanic, Asian, Middle Eastern, it was just like everybody running on the Republican side, white, Hispanic, you name it. And all of the people running on the Democrat side were old whites, old white people. So, and they were pointing the finger and saying that Republicans are racist, which was completely hilarious because visually it's just
the optics.
Exactly
I got you. Yeah, those optics.
But I think that continues to be the case. So I think that all of that slinging, the name calling does not apply. You look across the board, and overwhelmingly, you hear a lot of lofty talk in the Democrat side. Where for the minority, whatever, but it's mostly white people, and the actual diversity is found in the Republican Party. So it's like a lot of other things. It's inversion.
Yeah, there is some of that. I got you. I hear you with that. All right, there's one other person in the House District Congressional seat number 9 that's a Republican that's running. Have you guys heard of Madison Sheehan? Madison Sheehan. Okay, she was kind of brought in through the Trump administration. She was brought in. I'll tell you why she was brought in. They said some of the baggage that Josh Williams has, they weren't happy with. And Derek Merrin losing, they weren't happy with that 2 years ago. So they said they needed somebody in there who was guaranteed to win. But listen to this lady here for a minute, okay? This is weird. Now, she's only 29 years old. Only 29. She's never held a political office. She graduated from Ohio State University. We're talking about Madison Sheehan. Okay, she graduated from Ohio University. But then in the next 6 years, listen to what she did. She moved to South Dakota. She became executive director of the Republican Party there. Then she was working as a political director for Kristi Noem and her campaign. Then she went to Louisiana, and she was working with this wildlife division as a secretary of wildlife division in Louisiana. And then she got the job with the federal government as a deputy director for ICE out there. Former deputy director of U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement, ICE. And now she's moved back to Ohio, and she wants to take this congressional seat. It's like, get out of here, okay? That's crazy. That's crazy. How can somebody move around that much in 6 years? And she's only 29. It's like, get out of here. So it's got to be Josh Williams or Derek Merrin. One of those two have to win. We need a homegrown Ohioan there in District 9 to take on Marcy Kaptur and finally get her the heck out of Dodge. Finally. Yep. She's been there longer than anybody. I mean, she's going to go from there to the nursing home. And I mean that literally. She's that old. Crazy. All right.
They don't care. Look what they're doing in D.C. with a bunch of these people in their 90s. They sort of wheel them around in wheelchairs. I don't know where they are. I mean, Joe Biden was a classic prime example. But, I mean, you got a whole bunch of people. They've been in politics for 50-plus years. And you can see them shuffling around. They don't know where they are. Mitch McConnell. It's a great, there you go. Prime example. Mitch McConnell. These people should have
They
been out of
finally
politics.
retire. They finally retire, and then they go to the grave. So-
Well, they should be retired to prison for a lot of the things they've done, but we can't seem to figure out a way to hold them accountable, mainly because we have so few Republicans in the Republican Party. But if we can get to the point where we actually fill up the Republican Party with patriotic Americans and they're Republican, I think that we could easily flip the party into go mode. We could become active. We can hold people's feet to the fire. We can get them out of office when they prove to be corrupt and identical to the Democrat Party. All kinds of things are possible. That's why I continue to push precinct strategy. I advocate for it. And again, that's just precinct strategy is a slogan that's been attached to basic American civics. That's all it is. It's just civics. The stuff that wasn't taught to us in K through 12, because in the 1950s, they stopped teaching us about how government runs. And by the way, Brian and I, before the show started, I was making this comment. I'm going to get on my soapbox here for a minute. But there are lots of people out from outside of the United States who hate us, who have infiltrated the United States and understand our system of government and how the levers of power work way better than the average American. Americans are all over social media, dumbfounded by why we keep losing power to people, getting people in office who clearly hate us. They despise America, but they're getting elected. They're doing that because they understand how our American government works way better than we do. And the mystifying thing is on social media, a lot of those people that are complaining, I can't believe that nobody's passing the SAVE Act, and I can't believe that nobody's held accountable for this huge list of obvious crimes and treason. The reason is that the people who are in office right now, many of them have an R next to their name. I can't say this often enough and emphatically enough. The R does not belong, because they're lifelong far-left, liberal, progressive Democrats who 5 minutes ago showed up and started lying to the public and presenting themselves as Republican. They are not actually Republican. We can get rid of them, but only if and when enough of us get involved. That means getting involved at the local level. We can re-teach America civics. It's collaborative, cooperative education. Bring back civics and help people to understand that knowledge that American citizens are lacking, but our enemies clearly have their handle on.
Right. And one last time, got to remind everybody, Tuesday, Ohio primary election coverage right here on Ohio Political News. We're going to have a lot of fun with that. Brian, you got something to say?
Yeah, I was going to say, just following up on what Jonathan was saying, and that is, I think we've probably all realized that, with the mainstream media, what we used to call as the mainstream media, with the lies, deceptions, and the betrayals of, we have to make sure as citizens that just because we're reading it, that doesn't mean that it is automatically true. I had a prime example, on Facebook, recently, just before our press conference, where we revealed the number of signatures we had. And somebody was saying, well, we've got the signatures, and Brian Massey, I know Brian Massey, and he's going to do this and that. They never talk to me. So I'm cautioning everybody that just because you see it, on Facebook or somewhere, on the internet, just do your own investigation and just don't accept it as gospel when you see somebody writing something. I've become very skeptical on just about anything and everything these days.
Yeah, we're all getting very skeptical about everything. Marcell Strbich joins us, running for Secretary of State. Whoa! Wow, we get you some confetti here.
Save that for Tuesday.
Yeah. Yeah, you got to say it, man. I've been saying it all tonight, and it's if you pull that off, there's going to be an earthquake within the Republican Party. They're not going to know what to do, man. It's just the end of the world for them. But hey, I want to join. Thank you for joining us. Okay, so for people who don't know, Marcell Strbich is a Republican, retired U.S. Air Force Lieutenant Colonel, combat veteran, and election integrity advocate. And you are running for Ohio Secretary of State. And you got 2 days. We'll find out if you win or not. You're challenging Ohio Treasurer Robert Sprague. Have you heard of that guy? Okay. So, combat veteran, deployed 5 times during Operation Iraqi Freedom and Operation Enduring Freedom. And you flew 117 missions and 1,200 combat hours. And so you've got a lot on your resume. So congratulations for that. And you've been a hard worker. And I'm not lying, and I'm not saying this just because you're on the show. But I do see your yard signs from time to time in various places. I have yet to see Robert Sprague, but I know that he is out there campaigning hard as well. How are you doing tonight?
I'm doing well. You know, if you remember, 2 years ago around this time, I made my first appearance on Ohio Political News. And as you guys invited me tonight, I'm kind of starting and stopping everything in this journey I've been on as really a citizen advocate up until I became a candidate last May. And I'm going to do my watch party in the very same location that we kickstarted in Medina with the Ohio Freedom Fighters. Because what I've done, I think, in the last year is run a traditional campaign, realizing I would not likely have the support of the Ohio Republican Party, who's going to reward those who've been in the system, those who've kind of colored within the lines, and have not offended anyone. I drove at this cause of election integrity, doing it the hard way. I rolled up my sleeves. I wrote 3 election bills. I took a case to the Ohio Supreme Court and won. I reached a point where I could no longer really achieve what I thought could be achieved from the outside. So I'm a bold and decisive guy. I don't wait for anybody to tell me I have permission to run. I know I've served this country, and I know I have a right for my voice and your voice to be channeled through me. So that's why I ran for this office. And we are on the cusp of something, I agree with you, something very historic. And if it does happen, it's going to happen because the collective will of the people of Ohio recognize that we have a leadership void and gap in a variety of areas, and they see me as a channel to that. And I have a duty and an obligation to fulfill that if they entrust me with being their next Secretary of State and their nominee starting Tuesday.
Yeah. Okay, so it was 2 years. You were saying it was 2 years ago that we had you on for the first time. I can't believe that. I thought maybe it was about a year. It's been 2 years. Unbelievable. Yeah, so, Brian, you got a question or something? I hear you is kind of maybe wanting to say something.
Yeah, I was just saying, for what it's worth, I went through the early voting, and Marcell got my vote. I've known Marcell for a few years now, and been through many of our, we spoke down in, I think, the Dayton area. I spoke to a group down there together, and I've said we need new leadership in the state of Ohio, and Marcell is that new leader that we need in that office. There's no question. I've talked to him many times about what I see happening with the individual board of elections, and he's right on top of his game, not only with the election integrity that he spent a lot of time on, but just being accessible to the people. I really appreciate that.
Absolutely.
Thank you,
Okay.
Brian. I admire you, and I admire your property tax movement, and I support it, and I've been vocal about it, and I think every candidate should be. In the end, it's your movement, the movement of property tax reform, is the only movement that's resulted in actual tangible actions. Fortunately, we have to force additional changes as well by continuing to press the offensive. I agree.
Yeah, and that's an important point that you made right there. It's gotten tangible results. And I've got to say, there's action there. Too often we just hear lots and lots of talk and no action. But with this property tax movement, it's an active, very, very active group. Hey, let me ask you a couple things here. So now you're running on a platform. Would you say that your platform is identical to the Save America Act? Is there any difference between that? You want voter ID, which we all are praying for, paper ballots. We want everything done on one day, right? Tell us about what you would do if you were Secretary of State.
Well, what's interesting is when the Save America Act was proposed, it was originally proposed in the last Congress. And just prior to the original proposal of the SAVE Act, I was actually giving proponent testimony to a bill called HB 552, the Voter Verification Act, in the Ohio State House. And for all intent and purposes, that bill that I gave proponent testimony and helped write, which was sponsored by Representative Beth Lear and Representative Scott Wiggum, who was on his way out from Wayne County, that those provisions within that bill effectively make up what is the SAVE Act. It required proof of citizenship to be checked up front in Ohio. What's notable is I'm the only candidate running for the Secretary of State race with real world experience of looking at that problem and actually proposing it and going out on record. My opponent, who's come on late with the very same positions that I have now, after realizing that this is going to be a real race and not dismissing and discounting the grassroots of Ohio, is now mimicking this position and is telling Congress they should pass it. Well, there's no basis for Congress to pass it. If Ohio wants to do it, we can do it ourselves. At least the current makeup of the governorship, the legislature, and the Secretary of State, it could be done with political will. And that was one of the impetuses and reasons I started to run for this office, because I realized it's just not going to get passed because the Speaker of the House and the Senate President and the governor probably at the very top don't want to take on certain election integrity legislation. And now we have a unique opportunity in 26 because now those seats are all term limited. So either these guys who are rotating into new positions, we're going to be stuck with them for another 4 years, to include the treasurer, who I think is saying these things, but he has no track record of doing them. And that's why ultimately I'm running. I think the guy's running to be somebody, and the difference is I'm running to do something.
Ask you a question, because we've heard Frank LaRose say that we have the gold standard already here in Ohio. But when I listen to your platform and everything, it's like, well, there's a lot of things that we could do to improve the system. So can you elaborate on that? What would you do different than is being done right now to improve?
Well, several things. I think internally, from an election administration standpoint, we've got to take on more accountability. There's a lot of challenges at the various board of elections, and I think a lot of times they operate like 88 separate 88 separate secretaries of state. There's a wide interpretation of Secretary of State directives. I haven't seen necessarily, when they're violated, any consequences or repercussions in my county, in particular in Montgomery. I've identified that. I've pushed that up the so-called chain of command of the Republican Party, and it seems like everybody's protecting everybody. So I think accountability is one of the things, in active leadership and better guidance, standards, and criteria for the Board of Elections. And then we got to enforce that. I mean, these are basics, and I think this is part of the culture of we're just going to do it the way we want to do it and forget what the people have to say. So there's going to be some of that revisiting and relooking at the performance of individual Board of Elections and members. And I think that's probably why my opponent says that I'm not running to rip down the Board of Elections or the Secretary of State. He's got this one line where he goes around and talks about it. And what's kind of silly about that is, you mean you're not running to give accountability and oversight over something you have responsibility for? You're just going to let them do what they want to do? Because that doesn't serve the people. So it's just kind of the way these retail politicians package it to try to scare the Board of Elections. Oh, this big bad guy's coming in with a military background. He's going to burn it down. No, I'm not going to burn anything down. We're going to work together, and they're going to be the ones that we're going to serve, but they have to serve the people. That's the difference. And right now, their orientation is not to the people. It's oriented in some instances. Now, I'm saying everybody here. I'm not going to generalize, but in some instances, I've seen it in terms of we're not doing anything until the Secretary of State tells us, and they don't want to step out of their shadow when they get challenged. And the culture has been to basically swat down people as well who come to them and presented like inconsistencies in the application of law, questions that involve voter records that are questionable. I mean, it's a culture thing we have going on here, and it's going to take a different kind of leader to revisit that and relook at the workforce. So that's something that I think is going to be copacetic to leadership style that I bring. Now, the other things that we got to do is we got to share information better. Right? So if the Board of Elections isn't equipped, they have neither the means nor the mandate to check for eligibility and whether the information is correct on voter registration forms, for example, when it comes to identity, residency, and citizenship, then how can we equip them to do their job, right? And right now we've got a system where they're registering regardless of the information's correctness on the form, and that means we're actually giving people access to no excuse mail-in ballots, or records, I should say, that others can get access to. And that's a problem, right? That's a process issue. That's an issue with the law being too ambiguous. And we need a Secretary of State that's going to aggressively advocate for better standards and criteria. We have the means to equip the Board of Elections with equivalent information, get them access to the best and authoritative data that's going to be at the Bureau of Motor Vehicles. I mean, that would make Ohio really stand out. Imagine solving the issue of voter rolls. That's 90% of your potential risk, right? If you don't have a record that's unqualified, invalid, mismatch on the voter roll, there's very little that anybody can do to cheat. And so I think I want to put 90% or 80% of my time revisiting that. Fortunately, I already know the process that they use, I already know the deficiencies. I already know how to upgrade information systems so that they can be interoperable with one another. So I've defined user requirements and capability development for the Department of Defense. So I'm just going to do a look and re-examine of how their systems talk, how they work, what the laws are saying, and we're going to guide it. I think if I do that, that would be a tremendous asset for us going forward for free, fair, honest elections.
Yeah, gotcha. One thing, I'm going to get Jonathan in here in just a second, but one question I think would have helped the people a lot, and it's really not a question, but it's just a comment on my part, is if we could have had a debate between you and Robert Sprague, so that could sort of sort things out. I think that would have been very beneficial for the citizens, but that's not going to happen. Unless you got one scheduled tomorrow, but I don't think you do.
There should have been a debate. But the first thing I'm going to say is I can't believe it's been 2 years. Welcome back on the show, Marcell Strbich. 2 years ago, or thereabouts, Marcell Strbich came on the show. We have been very blessed on Ohio Political News to have a series of great guests, and Marcell's one of them. And I remember when Marcell showed up, I don't know if you saw me doing it, or maybe it was just mostly mentally, but I was doing some fist pumps, like, yes, this guy really gets it. I'm into what this guy is talking about, and I remember those great interviews early on a long time ago. And then when Marcell announced his candidacy, it was a great godsend, I think. So the first thing I'm going to do, like usual, I'll hold up my mug, which I do often on the show, but you'll notice I have my I voted sticker. I am actually in a local election myself, so I won't be going in to vote in person on Tuesday. But just 2 days ago on Friday, I did go in, and I'm pleased to announce that I circled in the oval for Marcell Strbich. Marcell, you've got my vote. The question that I have it goes to provisional ballots. We know we've got a lot of bad and questionable entries, and estimates are around 1.3 million right now in the state of Ohio, entries in our voter rolls that probably shouldn't be there, or they need to be challenged in some way, shape, or form. So how in the world is it we got to the point where we've got that many, whatever that huge number is, and those people vote the same way that I do when I'm able to walk in and show proof of citizenship and my ID? And will that be one of the first things you do when elected, is move those into provisional status?
Yes, unfortunately, we've been fighting for a while to expand the categories of provisional status to include for ID, Social Security, mismatched Social Security number, mismatched date of birth, mismatched residence, mismatched identity. We made a little bit of progress. They did about 10% of the total of those invalid or mismatched records under SB 293, which is a law that just passed not too long ago in conjunction with eliminating the grace period, the amount of time that a ballot is allowed to come in. That's no longer the case after Election Day, regardless of when it was postmarked. So, I mean, they decided to forego actually 90% of the ones that really matter, which are name mismatches. And that's unfortunate. And I think that came down because of pressure from the special interest lobby, the Board of Elections. They get spooked over this idea that they don't want to have to process too many provisional ballots after the election, and that it will slow down their account, their certification. And that's fair. But here's what I would say. We wouldn't even have this issue if we would simply go back to the source of the problem. The source of the problem is that when a voter registration form is provided to the Board of Elections, it is not qualified by them per se for correctness. It is qualified for completeness. That is right there. Until we address that, we're going to continue to leave the door open for mismatched and valid records. We're going to continue to leave the requirement open for provisional ballots. So we have to go back to this very source. And I'm the only candidate uniquely qualified in understanding that to be able to drive that as a like upfront agenda item right when we get in. And so this is going to be a battle when we get in. You know, should we prevail against all odds? You guys know the circumstances with me. I've run a strong campaign. I've got a lot of volunteers all across this state who have just put it on the line for me. It's very unconventional how we did it, but it's something very special. I need to write probably an after-action report on how I did this to get to this point. I'm certainly not in a position to count yet a victory, but we're close, and we have a very tight race. And if people come out and they vote and they tell their friends and family, there's going to be some real changes that are going to be positive difference makers for their elections, because that's what I'm going into office to do. These are the things, that's what I'm interested in doing, and that's why I ran. So yes, thank you, Jonathan, for the thoughtful question. But again, it goes back to us not having the right process and not requiring the Board of Elections to review the information for being correct. Relatively.
I do want to say one thing. You have been so active with the campaign. A lot of people that are running campaigns and stuff, I know several that they don't work very hard. You are the exception to that. You know, being down in Cincinnati, I've seen you up in Cleveland multiple times. I've seen you all over the state.
I need to get a guest house in Cleveland, Joe. I've been up there more than any other place. Actually, I connect with the people in Cleveland better than most.
You have been. I've seen you up
They're
here many
very
times.
direct people. They want common sense. Yeah, I mean, they work up there. They provide. You know, we get along. If we win the Cleveland area, we're going to win this election.
You really put a lot of time and effort into everything. Let's see if Brian has a question for you.
Yeah, it's really more of a comment. I have to give a shout out to Lake County Board of Elections and Dante Lewis. He has always been very open and will meet with me at any time to answer any questions that I have. I do remember asking the question, well, when they register to vote, do they have to prove that they're citizens? And he said, no, they do not have to do that. And I said, well, that really seems to be, problematic. But I guess that's throughout the state, is it not, Marcell? They don't have to require that.
Yeah, I don't put it on the Board of Elections. You know, you can't ask them to do something they haven't been equipped to do, right? And so we have to do that gradually with them. We also need to take into account the fact that some Board of Elections across the 88 counties are like only 2 people, full-time employees. So if you think about it, whenever the Secretary of State comes out with a directive, that could be exponentially challenging when you're talking about having 2 full-time employees in a rural county. So we got to be cognizant of that. And the assurance I gave to Board of Election professionals like the one you're dealing with is I will not move faster than the smallest Board of Elections. And I will understand and grasp intelligently, thoughtfully, the impact of the directives that we're going to be issuing, right? And we're going to do things over time. So we're going to give adjustments and grace periods, especially if we're going to change the process. And most importantly, if I'm asking the Board of Elections to do something different in terms of qualifying information, which is something they haven't traditionally done, then I bear the responsibility of advocating for the resources for that, but they, in turn, owe me an assessment on how many resources they're going to need. And I think that's where things failed in the legislation, because as the legislators asked the Board of Elections for honest, upfront information on how many people they would need to do this job of qualifying eligibility upfront, they were stifled. And I think they were stifled because they were encouraged not to provide it by the special interest lobby that was intent on killing it, regardless of being an honest broker in there. So we're going to flesh that out ultimately. And if I'm in a position where I'm granted this authority, then yes, we're going to work with everyone to include that interest lobby, but it's going to be something to the effect of you help me, help you, and we have to collaborate. That's the bottom line.
Great. Thank you,
Awesome.
Marcell.
Marcell, let me just throw something up here off our X channel here. This has to do with the Save America Act, and I thought this was pretty hilarious here. But this is John Thune here, and of course it's AI generated. But it says this is the only reason I can think of as to why John Thune refuses to pass the Save America Act. He's got Google, he's got Visa, he's got Pepsi, he's got J.P. Morgan. This whole thing with the Save America Act, which is just so important, just so vitally important, but yet it's being clogged by somebody like John Thune and the senators there, and the U.S. senators. So what's your take on that? It seems like the most important bill, does it not?
It would be from a national perspective because there are so many other states who are so far behind in terms of voter ID. We have voter ID in Ohio, but one thing we're not doing well is how we handle photo ID. For mail-in ballots, we've exempted that for photo ID for mail-in ballots. So we've left the back door open. So I would rather be more concerned about what Ohio is doing or can do. And I would assume that Congress is not going to suspend the filibuster under the current folks that are there, right? And that the numbers, like Bernie Moreno has told us, Senator Moreno, are just not there for the Senate to want to suspend it. So I don't engage in wishful thinking, Joe. I'm a very practical person. I'm strategic. I look at the practicality of if they're going to get that done. I think that we would be better served electing an assertive Secretary of State, putting all our energy to that, becoming the best state that we can be with Secretary of State, and then watching the other Republican states try to mimic and reflect us, right? Because at the end of the day, I care about Ohio. I can't change Congress. I can't change bought and paid for congressmen. The key thing is I took no special interest PAC money to run this race. I got 5,000 small donors, okay? And I think that's notable, right? In the face of the opposite of my opponent, who took Les Wexner's money, $23,000 of it. Now, he paid it back allegedly after that was a national news story. What does that say about the judgment? You know, and these are the type of things that happen, I guess, when you're in the system a long time and you're so focused on like campaigning all the time. The nice thing is if I win this election, I don't have to run again, do I? I just have to say and do what the people want me to do. And then when my 4 years is up, maybe that's it. Maybe I go back to just raising my family, and that would be great because I got 3 young kids. Maybe if more people enter public office with the mindset, if I'm only doing 2 years or I'm only doing 4 years, but I'm going to maximize it, maybe we would be less susceptible to being compromised. Maybe we would stand when we're told not to stand, okay? And that's the type of people that are going to save Ohio and are going to save this country.
Hey, what, let me, I got a question. I'll go around the horn real quick and one more time. But what is it about the campaigning? Because you haven't campaigned for a political position before. So what was it that surprised you the most? And you're going for the big statewide, position here. What was it that kind of caught you off guard, or what was it that surprised you about the whole candidacy and stuff?
I don't know if I'm at the point where I'm fully reflecting on all the points of it. I mean, I was surprised that when I showed the level of enthusiasm that I showed across the 60 counties, when I've organized hundreds of volunteers in a cycle where you can listen to pretty much every experienced political analyst or elected official talk about, we need to get our people out. We're concerned our people are not motivated, so forth and so on. I'm the one candidate supercharging that entire effort. And it's like those that want to see a different outcome, maybe because their calculus is only based on dollar signs for now, they were willing to discount that. They were willing to discount the one candidate on the down ballot race that's going to activate voters that weren't going to come out and vote, per se. And to have that, and I think what's starting to happen is they're starting to see it, but we have to break through and just win it. That's the only that's the only thing that's going to get everybody to recalculate, because right now people are always reacting to past patterns. They assume dollars make right. Let me give you an example. In this race for Secretary of State, my opponent, as of April, spent $2.1 million since January of 25. Remember, he announced for governor, auditioned for lieutenant governor, and then he finally settled on Secretary of State because that was the only position that was left open to continue his political career. Now, in the meantime, again, having raised a lot of small donor money, having got every little bit of support from people who are putting everything on the line for me, we've spent a little over $400,000 in the year that we've been doing this. And I don't think anybody expected us to raise that, and I don't think anybody expected us, but still, with the 6-to-1 difference, we're right there with the same name ID. And if you want any proof of that, and we're up 2 in this race, if you want any proof of that, why haven't they shown a single poll since the weak push poll that was put out in mid-January? Because if they had a poll, don't you think they'd be rubbing that in my face right now? In all of our faces, hey, you guys that think you're going to beat us, we're up by 10, we're up by 15. Nothing, not a peep. Because the reality is this, despite having run for elected office and having previously won, in this case, the competitor, he has not ever had good name ID and still doesn't, even after having spent now over $4 million. So that should go to show the conventional political analysts of Ohio, it is more important that you have a sincere, authentic, competent candidate who drives and talks and is accessible with people, and that should be the candidate that you should get around. Not around the guy that's hiding, not avoiding debates, doesn't even. I was on a radio the other day with Mindy and Boots. I happened to call in at the same time. I think we'll be putting something out here for everybody to take a look at. Okay, but at the time that he and I are talking and the host asked me, what did you think about what he said? I addressed it. And his response was not to act as if I said anything or if I exist. I mean, this is a calculated strategy, and I think this is not the effective way to win, because what he's saying is he doesn't want conflict. But what's he going to get? What do you think the winner of this race is going to get in general election with the Democrat?
Yeah, you got to go up against Allison Russo. Yeah,
they're going to be very confrontational, dynamic, outspoken, and that is the type of person that we're going to want to put up against them. We need more Charlie Kirks running for office and less Jeb Bushes.
No more Jeb Bushes. Gosh,
Bingo.
no, yeah.
Well, that's a great segue to what I want to say. So what Marcell Strbich is talking about is there's a term I'd like to ask everybody to learn and know. If you're not already familiar with the term citizen legislature, that simply means people that have careers, they have jobs, they have families, they have a life outside of politics, and will go into some political role for service to community for some limited number of years. It's the exact opposite of these career politicians who, if they ever did have sight of what we the people want or need, lose it quickly in interests of pursuing their self-interests and money. Those people, those career politicians, we need to get back to what made America great in the first place, which is we the people. It's just average, ordinary citizens stepping into various roles from county precinct level, a precinct seat, to local school board, you name it. We need more patriotic, conservative Americans to step into those roles. So kudos to Marcell Strbich. I know I can get a sense, at least, for what you've gone through during this election cycle. All the attack ads and those sorts of things. It's unfortunate. That's just the world that we live in. But we need people who have the gumption, the spine, the wherewithal, and very specifically, the knowledge and aptitude to step into these kinds of races. And this is an appeal to our audience. It doesn't mean that you need to assume that you have the level of skill, training, and background that Marcell Strbich has. We're thankful to his years in military service. Thanks again for your service, by the way, Marcell. But whatever your aptitude is, if you're a CPA or if you are good with numbers or good with people, get into local office somehow, some way, and we can do exactly what Marcell Strbich is talking about. And I do hope that you get back to family quickly. I hope that you're able to get into office, that you're elected on Tuesday, clean things up quickly, and maybe after one election cycle, you'll be able to take a breath and get back to raising your kids. That's what I hope for you.
I'm going to go over to Brian here. Brian, do you have a last question here for Marcell?
Yes, Marcell. Again, I think you're going to make it. I really do. I've been very impressed every time I've heard you speak. Throughout the state of Ohio, I've said it. Certainly more than once. We need new leadership like Marcell Strbich. The only exposure I've had to his opponent, when his opponent spoke in Lake County, he was speaking to a group of citizens, and I happened to talk to him about Ohio property taxes, and I could tell the treasurer at that time, he didn't even understand 20 mil floors. Marcell Strbich knows, and he's taught himself the role of the Secretary of State, and he gets involved in the details, and I know that he's going to make some significant positive changes to the Secretary of State's office, which we need badly.
Absolutely. So, Marcell, give us your last, your campaign speech, your short campaign speech as to why we should vote for you, and best of luck. Monday is coming up. It'll be a very, very interesting night, but go ahead.
It will be. Look, it's been an honor to get around to the state of Ohio and to meet people on a very personal level. I'm one of you. I'm just raising a family here post-military. I decided I wanted to make my life harder, not easier post-military. But I am for challenges. I am for doing what people say it cannot be done. And I guess I'm just one of those guys. I've seen enough in war, and this hasn't fazed me. Okay, I saw the constitutional crisis. I felt the constitutional crisis very personally in the military. And I grew very anxious about what direction we're going as a country. And I pinpointed that a big part of the challenge is going to be the elections. And I just want them to be free, fair, and honest, and so nobody questions the outcomes of them. So at the end of the day, everyone is willing to accept the results of them. This is a now or never moment. The establishment has told you essentially who you need to vote for on the basis that they know better. But I always know that in this country, the voter knows better. And as we approach Tuesday, and many of you have already done your duty and you fulfilled it, and many of you have gone above and beyond to help me because you recognize that I'm doing this for you, I'm doing this for us, This isn't about me. This is not a vanity project. I don't need this job. I do want to see the outcomes that I have worked for 3 years. And this was the only way in my mind that I could do it, is to run for Secretary of State. And I believe that fortune favors the bold and decisive in life. And I've thrown everything that I have at this race, and I have no regrets. I know that we will have a tremendous result. So thank you, guys. Thank you for giving me the opportunity here on Political News.
All right. Thank you, Marcell.
Thanks,
Good to see you. I can't believe it's been 2 years. But God bless. Good luck. We'll be covering it on Tuesday night. We will be covering it. See you later. We will be covering it. I can't wait. Tuesday night. We're going to have election night coverage here. All right. I'm going to bring Kent. Did you want to plug us a little bit? And then we've got our next guest, Judge David Engler.
I just want to thank people. Yeah, I want to thank everybody watching tonight. Also thank Stu for the 100 stars tonight on Facebook. If you can do that. You can send stars on Facebook. You can do a Rumble rant or a super chat on YouTube. We appreciate that. It does cost money to do this. We will be covering everything Tuesday night on the election coverage. But we got a really great chat. I really want to just show this again. B. Chris 5272. We appreciate that. As we grow, the only way we can grow is you sharing. And we need everybody on any platform that you're on. It doesn't matter where you're at. Share this and let people know about it. That's the only way that we can grow. And then also, if you can financially send any, financial money, that would be helpful. We do appreciate that. You can go on to our website, ohiopoliticalnews.com. There is a donation button there. We really appreciate that. Or if you can do any kind of super chats, stars, Rumble rants, we appreciate that as well. But thanks again for everybody watching tonight.
All right, great. Hey, put that back up there a minute. Put it back up. Somebody was saying I was professional. Look at.
Yeah, look at that. That's a nice compliment.
Joe is very professional. That is great. Oh,
but Joe, cut over to my camera so I can hold up my mug again.
Made my night there, guys.
There you go. You can keep it up. Keep that comment up. But this is twofold. It's showing off this terrific Ohio Political News mug. This one's got my mug shot on it. But also, it serves as a reminder to get out there and vote. This is my I voted sticker. I went in on Friday. I normally go in on election day, but this season, this election cycle, I am actually in a contested race, and I won't be going in on Tuesday. So 2 days ago on Friday, I went in and voted. This is my sticker from it. I did, as I said earlier in the show, go in and circle that oval for Marcell Strbich. And I'm going to give a little teaser. I hope you don't mind, Joe, but I did also circle another oval on my ballot, and that was for Judge David Engler for the, for what is it, 11th. That's the 11th Court of Appeals. So Judge Engler, I've gotten to know, paid close attention to their stance and on politics. I like his viewpoint. Looking forward to more conversation with Judge Engler, right? Coming up?
Yep, coming up next. He's coming up next. Okay, so Chris wants, I just saw the chat there. Chris, I can never pronounce her last name. Camuendo. She wants a mug. So Chris, send me your address. We will get you a mug. Just like Jonathan has. All right, let's get a guest.
I have a question for Kent, if I may. Are we going to, is Ohio Political News going to live stream the event tomorrow in Middlefield? John Morrow is going to be there.
I think if John is there, we can do it. I will talk to John tonight. I'll get in touch, and we should be able to. Yep, we should. Yep.
That's good. Starting at 6:30
I think there's a couple
tomorrow.
questions about the. I don't know if you have time, but there's a couple questions popping up.
Okay, what is the panel's opinion on Vivek and Casey Putz? Well, that's a whole nother show right there. Panels on property tax abolishment. Okay, Chris. Well, we will get to that. But listen, we'll talk about that. But we got to get our next guest on here. Yeah, woohoo! She's going to get ourselves a mug. Judge David Engler joins us. How are you, Judge? Good to see you there.
Oh, fantastic. Good evening. Hello to the Ohio Political Network land.
All right. Now, you know what? If you want to turn your cell phone horizontally and watch what happens. There we go. Awesome,
Oh, there
man.
we go.
Awesome.
That's nicer. Full frame.
Yeah.
How's that?
Yeah, it's good. I don't know. We're kind of
Smaller
missing a little bit of
You're
your
not
head, though.
framed very well. We can't
Yeah.
see your face. So can you raise it a little bit, Judge?
Yeah, you
There
just
we
have
go.
to raise it up a little so we can see your face. Got to see your face. There you go. Very
There we
good.
go.
Yeah, that's good.
All right, so it's good to have you with us here tonight. So I'm going to talk a little bit about Judge David Engler here. You're the current Trumbull County Court of Common Pleas judge, and that's also known as the Trumbull County Family Court
That's right.
in Warren, Ohio. And your legal career, you practiced law for 40 years and have been practicing since 1985 with a focus on family law. And you have, I'm sure you have lots of other things you can mention. We'll let you expound on your resume a little bit. But one of the things I do have to find out about you is that two things. One is it looks like you are running in the primary on May 5th against Judge Marisa Cornacchio. Is that right?
That's right. That's right.
And that's for a different position now. This is for a higher up court position. You're going for the Ohio 11th District Court of Appeals. Let me get your face on here so we can see
Am I
you.
on there?
Okay,
I have to get
so
that.
that's Ashtabula, Geauga, Lake Portage, and Trumbull counties. That's the 11th district, covers all those locations. So that's what you're battling for. So we will keep an eye on you Monday night as well, and see if you can pull that off or not. That's great. But also, Judge, you filed a suit, a lawsuit.
Upside down.
Yeah, that's. I think the camera is not adjusting properly on your mobile. So
Yeah.
maybe just. Yep, there we go. I think that's good.
That's it.
Yeah, that's
No,
good
you
enough.
had it for a second.
Okay.
There you go.
That's
good.
good enough. Good
It's
enough.
not the best. It's not the best view of me, but it'll do.
It'll do. So a couple weeks ago, you filed a lawsuit challenging the 2023 voter-approved reproductive rights amendment that was added to our Ohio Constitution, Article 1, Section 22. So if people don't recall, back in 2023, we had Issue 1 to change the Ohio Constitution so that we could have abortion on demand. And now you filed a lawsuit saying that, hold on a minute, what's wrong with that is that it eliminates the requirement for parental consent of minors under the age of 18. Is that correct? Is that what your lawsuit primarily was for?
Well, the way I have a lawsuit that I have standing is I'm also the juvenile court judge, okay? So for the last 30 years in Ohio, if a minor wanted to have an abortion but did not want their parents' consent, what would happen is that minor would come to the juvenile court judge and show that they were mature enough, they understood what was going on, and by and large, the judge would follow the constitutional law and allow the minor to go forth without parental consent. Well, in 2023, that amendment did away with my job of judicial bypass, so it's gone. My authority comes from the Ohio Constitution, okay? The amendment also changes the Ohio Constitution, but it didn't explicitly deal with the authority of the juvenile court judges who are doing the parental, this judicial bypass, because the language in the amendment did away with parental consent. Now, today in Ohio, your 15-year-old daughter needs your permission to get a tattoo. That same 15-year-old daughter does not need your permission for an abortion. They turned this one medical procedure into something so different than everything else that for some reason you took parents out of the equation. And it's the same type of process when you're taking parents out of the equation. You're taking them out because you want them to, ultimately, you want to destroy the whole notion of family. But parents are out of the equation. Parents are not part of the process in Ohio. It's an awful, terrible thing. And I'll stop for a second on this. Understand, I have seen so many horrible, horrific things as both as a lawyer and as a juvenile court judge. Somewhere in Ohio this week, there will be a sex trafficker taking their victim to a provider to have an abortion the parents know nothing about. They'll literally cover up the crime and put that young girl back out on the streets. It's going to happen. It's already has happened.
I'm going to show you this. This was from Cleveland.com and a Plain Dealer, which is a super conservative newspaper, by the way. Super conservative. And
Yeah,
that
right.
insert laughter right there, okay? But look what they got. You know, abortion is health care. Abortion is health care. They also have a sign back there that says, impeach these corrupt court judges. Those are the only ones that are conservative. So this is Cleveland.com, all right? But I show you that picture because that was related to your article a couple weeks ago.
Goodness.
Yeah,
Oh,
so
sure.
they wrote up an opinion piece against you, and that was the picture of the headline of the article.
Well, let me tell you, Joe, that we're on to something, okay? We're on to it. We found out their dirty secret. They did get rid of parental consent in Ohio. And that Plain Dealer that I've been watching ever since I've been a student at Case Western Reserve University all those years ago, did me dirty. And it's no surprise to all of you that they went to a third-party unbiased source to get her opinion about this litigation, a woman by the name of Professor Jessie Hill from the Reproductive Rights Initiative of Case Western Reserve, my alma mater at my law school, who said it was laughable. There were so many problems with Judge Engler's lawsuit, she didn't know where to begin. They never once identified her as the ACLU attorney who helped promulgate the 2023 abortion initiative. They don't want to let people know. My litigation basically says this. Look, Frank LaRose and Dave Yost are the respondents, okay? I'm saying send it back to the ballot commission. If you want to get rid of parents' rights, spell it out. Say, parents, you're not part of the process. Juvenile court judges, you're not part of the process. Let the people vote on it again. What are you hiding from?
Can I get a question on that, Judge? Because what bothers me the most is this was back in 2023. We're now in 2026. It went through the ballot language, Frank LaRose and company. And then Dave Yost had to approve it as well as Attorney General. So it went through it jumped through all the hoops that it had to jump through. Why now? Why 3 years later? Didn't anybody see this language as being wrong, insufficient? Why did it take 3 years? I mean, this thing was well documented. They had to go out and get all the signatures and everything. What happened there?
Well, part of me thinks it might have been accidental, but a bigger part of me thinks it's all completely intentional. I mean, that it's an attempt to destroy the family. You cannot get to socialism and communism unless you get rid of the whole basic idea of family, right? And what they did by passing it, I think there's a part that Dave Yost or Frank LaRose, the people on the ballot commission, didn't understand that there's a thing called juvenile bypass that's out there that was it was in the law. It's part of the law for juvenile court judges, and perhaps they didn't recognize that they were affecting that right. And then you add another layer into this, okay? And I've had a couple technology companies during my career that I've started and sold. And I use AI, right? I'm proficient at AI. I was the first one to use AI to do a judicial assisted journal entry in my court. And I was up in Cleveland talking to the Bring America Back to Life conference as part of this 11th District Court of Appeals race, right? And I said, look, one of the biggest issues facing the entire Supreme Court right now in Ohio is the effects of AI. And how it affects litigation, how it affects our decision making, everything. Matter of fact, I will show you over lunch. I will do some research to show if anybody in this crowd of 1,000 people up in Cleveland have any ability to bring a lawsuit to challenge this abortion amendment. And I do the research, Joe, and I feel, I'm a very religious fella, that it was me. I had standing as a juvenile court judge. me and the other 87 juvenile court judges in Ohio actually have the standing because we lost our constitutional right. And because we lost our constitutional right and it wasn't spelled out in the amendment, that's what gives me the standing. I think you and your sophisticated audience understands that idea of standing. I need to have some reason to be in this litigation.
Okay, gotcha. Let's go around the horn here. How you doing, Brian? A question?
Great. Welcome, Judge. I just have been recently exposed to the 16th Amendment of the U.S. Constitution. Mitch Betzler in Texas was talking about unrealized gains being, unconstitutional. And it gets pretty complicated when you talk about, direct tax versus a property tax. But is there any reason that we should continue down the path of looking at unrealized gains being an unconstitutional issue in the state of Ohio?
In the sense of the unrealized gains on the increase of your property values?
Yes, that's correct.
Yeah, I think you absolutely should continue to explore that. Let me give you, Brian, something that happened in my court. I'm doing a divorce this week, right? It was a couple from California. They had a house in LA. Now, this couple had been married for 40 years, right? So the house was bought years and years ago for something like $250,000, $300,000. Well, today it's worth $1.2 million, and we're trying to divide it up. And so I'm an Ohioan, right? And I'm like, boy, those taxes have to be staggering. I asked the couple, well, how much you pay in taxes? Because they couldn't afford to keep the house. They said, oh, that's about $1,500 a year. That's in LA. In LA, California, they pay property taxes to get frozen in at what they paid for it, right? Not even when they sell it. It's what they paid for it. It was interesting that California, as progressive as they are, had a more reasonable, common sense approach to property taxes. Now, who knows what the rest of the taxes are like in California, but I was like amazed, and so were the other attorneys in the courtroom, that this $1.2 million home in LA, that they were only paying $1,500 a year in property taxes.
Wow.
Yeah, the other issue, and you've mentioned it about the family. We're on the path to socialism and communism. I could make the argument that we're already being run by socialists in the state of Ohio. But as a family judge, have you seen just a drastic change in the family structure, and is that causing the main problems in our society today? It's just been the breakdown of the family structure.
No, absolutely. Without a doubt, the number one, the number of fatherless homes, suggesting that marriage isn't necessary, keeping women at home, the decades and decades of inserting reliance upon government onto families instead of families supporting families, and husbands supporting wives and wives supporting their kids. All of that has been eroded over time, and we have the mess that we're in now. And it's not just like the first generation or second generation. This is the third and the fourth generation of people that I see come in front of me that do the most horrific things. And so many of these young men in particular, young men come in front of me in my family court, and they have no clue what it means to be an appropriate parent. So I've taken it, in my part of my job is to show love to everybody as a judge, even though they're getting divorced. But I'll tell them, like, didn't anyone ever tell you this is how you parent? You don't say something nasty about the mom in the presence of the kids. You don't say you don't do those things that are emotionally damaging to your children just because you can. And you little guy, why are you not supporting your child? You have to do better than that. You have to be a better father than that, than just showing up on a irregular basis to raise your child. But it goes back to, it might be me, the first person they're hearing this from, the first person in authority, because it's not their father, because their father's not around, right? It's not even their grandfather, because their grandfather's not around. So you have generation and generation of decay, of family decay over time, that's greatly affecting our entire our entire society. And I see it on a daily basis. It's happening. And that's why in the course of running for the 11th District Court of Appeals in Northeast Ohio, Ashtabula, Lake, Portage, Geauga, and Trumbull, I'm very avowedly upfront. I'm a Christian conservative guy, and was recruited by Judge Matt Lynch, not recruited, but supported by Judge Matt Lynch to take his place because he's a strong conservative.
Oh, okay, yeah, I know about Matt Lynch. So, is that one that lady that I mentioned? Is she the only opponent? It is you two vying for an open seat.
Right. It's Matt Lynch's open seat. So May 5th, whoever wins is in because there's no Democrat running against us. And my opponent's more from the establishment group, Republicans, or that dark money. Some of it that came in against Jonathan Broadbent, to support her and to support some more of the sort of same old in Columbus, that type of group. They came to me early on and said, hey, her parents print money. This is one of Dave Joyce's lackey comes to me and says, hey, her parents print money. You should get out of the race, Judge. Well, they had no idea they were talking to a guy at age 26 that ran for Youngstown City Councilman, became a Youngstown City Councilman, fought against the mob, had my car firebombed back then, had Jim Trafficant put me in a headlock when I was county commissioner in Mahoney County at the Canfield Fairground. I've done so many different things. Some entitled person from Lake County because their parents has money means nothing to me. To a guy from Youngstown like me, I'm like, okay, bring it on. Let's go. It was like a challenge.
Good. We need tough judges, really tough judges in more ways than one.
Absolutely. Yeah, more tough conservative judges. Well, I'm going to do the same thing for this segment of the program that I did for Marcell Strbich, which is show off my mug, which I've conspicuously put my I voted sticker on. On Friday, I went in and was very pleased to fill in the oval for Judge David Engler. He's got my vote. He actually knows that. I saw him late on Friday at an event Friday evening and showed off my sticker then. So you covered one of the things already that I wanted to make sure that we bring out in the conversation, and thank you for that. But I'm going to emphasize it because I have I'm in this fight. I started and I continue. 99% of my focus and energy and effort is on the children. Protect Ohio Children is where I got my start. That is if you're not familiar with it, that is a subset of Ohio Value voters. That is a focus on protecting children. It is connected to something called the Protect Child Health Coalition, and that's where my heart is. That's what got me into the political fight to begin with, and that's where my focus is. This whole thing with taking away parental rights, and you hit the nail on the head, Judge, when you brought up these bad actors, these child sex predators that are trafficking children, getting young girls pregnant, and then now have the ability to take them in and hide their crimes. I'm glad you touched on that because I literally had written it down early while you were talking to make sure we brought it back up. I'm just putting it back out there again. But for purposes of kind of connecting some dots for our audience, and I'm going to throw a couple of breadcrumbs and then look for some feedback from Judge Engler. When you go back in time to the 1960s, there was something called AFDC, which stands for Aid to Families with Dependent Children. This was rolled out on the national level from federal government, and it was pushed primarily into black communities. There were literally people knocking on doors promising more money, more income if it was a single parent household. And moms and babies, children, were actually literally hiding black men and pushing them out of the house. That, I believe, was by design. It goes back to two things. That's Ronald Reagan's comment that the 9 scariest words in the English language are, I'm from the government and I'm here to help. And also what I consider to be firm knowledge now that what is the expression? Black America is the petri dish for communist bad ideas. These things started and have decimated Black America, like drugs, pumping drugs into the community, etc. So these things that we're seeing, the single parent households, the fatherless children, all of that has been pushed out since the 1960s. I think the starting point is to recognize it, figure out a way to go forward to correct that, and I think the pendulum is starting to swing. And for the immediate future, which is 2 days from now, that is getting conservative people back onto the bench, getting people with a good understanding of the social impact of this social engineering of federal government. Those are my comments. Thank you.
Thank you for that. And Brian, I was up in Lake County. I stood up and said that I've been an insider in government. I was on a school board, countywide school board for 22 years. I was a county commissioner. I was a city councilman. And I appreciate and respect your effort to abolish the tax, to get that issue up there. I think there's a lot of phoniness that comes out of Columbus. And by the way, I'm able to speak so boldly because there was recently an April 2nd decision out of the Supreme Court that just because I have a black robe on doesn't mean I lose my First Amendment rights, okay? So don't let any judge out there hide behind their robe and not tell you who they are. Now, that doesn't mean, I'm still going to follow the Constitution, every law of the state of Ohio fairly and do it fairly. But understand this. I've seen it from the inside, Brian Massey, and it's a mess. And I don't want people to be fooled, because I've sit and listened to State Senator David Thomas about his proposal. I think it's quackery. I think it's fool's gold. I think you're on the right path.
God bless you. Thank you so much. That's very, very, very kind. And we believe that private property ownership is the foundation of freedom and liberty, and we're going to keep marching forward for the citizens of the state of Ohio.
I said this. I've done a lot of things, and some other time we could talk more, fellas. But I represented Boys to Men in a record deal. I've represented large corporations over in Europe. I've done large properties acquisitions, represented the largest white-collar criminal in America at the time. All of this has led me to this point in time to be on the 11th District Court of Appeals, and more importantly tonight, talking to you opinion leaders in Ohio. And I'm so happy to have the chance to talk to your audience, because you're patriots, you're great Americans. Thank you for what you do.
Judge, thank you so much. Yeah, thank you very much. God bless you. God bless your efforts and everything too with what you're doing. How about just give us your closing comments on convince us to vote for you, not us, but anybody who might catch be watching and stuff like that. So can you give us your campaign speech here just to wrap things up here tonight? And again, God bless you, and we're going to be following you on Tuesday night. We're doing an election night coverage on Tuesday night, and I'm going to be following your campaign. Best of luck.
Thank you. Well, there's literally nobody on the current 11th District Court of Appeals bench with a broader reach of experience than I have in terms of going after pedophiles and abusers of children, representing large corporations, representing famous celebrities, the producer of Hot in Cleveland after he signed Betty Davis at age 90. I've done so much in the course of my career as a lawyer. I've had 2 different technology companies. I've been a former county commissioner. So I have this broad base of understanding. I'm a father, a grandfather, and it's that experience that I'm going to bring to the 11th District. But most importantly is I bring my fundamental ideas of, I know who I am. I know what I believe in. My truth is grounded in a biblical truth. And I'm going to leave you guys with this one idea. It's called the Martens issue, M-A-R-T-E-N-S. And it's this: there are some rights that are inalienable. They're given to us not by the Constitution of Ohio, but they're inherent in us. And like Brian Massey was talking about, they're recognized by the Ohio Constitution, not conferred, and not even a constitutional amendment can alter or destroy those inalienable rights that we have as citizens of the state and citizens of this country. And I'm going to be on the bench, and I'm going to make sure that all of our individual rights of liberty, freedom, and the pursuit of happiness are protected.
You got it. All right. Well, God bless you, man. Good to have it. Good to have strong judges, man. Good
vote for the judge.
It's good to have strong judges on the bench, yeah. And I mean that in more ways than one. You got a strong character, strong conservative values. You got it all. Yeah. Plus, you beat up the mob too, so that's a plus.
I can tell you stories about that. That was quite the days, right?
All in a day's work. Very good.
Right.
Well, thanks again. Have a good one. Thanks,
Judge.
Thank you.
Hey, Joe, so I've got some comments here, if you'll let me interject them. It's actually hot off the presses, or actually hot off an email. I've got some messaging from some people that I trust implicitly in the political realm, making some comments. Apparently, they're traveling but listening to this program. So, hi, friends, you know who you are. There is a reference to some information that was put out by Ohio Value Voters. So a note, earlier I mentioned Ohio Value Voters and Protect Ohio Children. I did serve a term as a chair, board member, and territory lead. At this point, I'm simply a volunteer like anybody else for Protect Ohio Children. I no longer serve a formal role. But Ohio Value Voters put out a statement in 2023 pertaining to the Blue 22 and Jason Stevens. Jason Stevens worked with the Democrats and promised to sort of grease the skids for Democrats in order to gain the speakership. Most people, I think by now, especially if you've been watching the show, you're familiar with that issue. They point out, and that has been a concern about Jay Edwards, that Jay Edwards was part of that. He was one of the Blue 22. So there are some people that are willing to cut him some slack and said, maybe that was one mistake and a blemish on his career. And there are some people who've said, I couldn't possibly vote for him because he was part of the Blue 22, and that was a stain on Ohio's politics. And I can see both sides of the argument. However, there's new information that's come my way moments ago that apparently this past week, Jay Edwards has gone out on social media and asked Democrats in the state of Ohio to pull Republican ballots to vote for him. If that is the case, and I'd love to have some proof of that, if that is the case, that is, in my book, the death knell. I have absolutely zero patience with the crossover and the intentional calls for crossovers. We've been fighting that as a cancer. It is a cancer in the county of Geauga. It has crushed places like, all over the state of Ohio. Anybody out there who calls themselves Republican, who is willing to use Democrat votes to try to play to the Democrat voter and audience in order to try and gain power is gone. In my book, I'm emphatic about that.
So Jonathan, just to clarify something, so that came from Ohio Value Voters.
This is actually connected to that statement. This did not come from Ohio Value Voters. I am messaging now to see if I can give credit, because I think it will resonate with the audience. I don't at the moment have the authorization to give credit to this comment, but I'm asking our audience, if you see comments out there from Jay Edwards, and if you can point to, grab a screen capture, whatever it is, and if this proves to be true, I will be enraged, and all of the state of Ohio, all people in the Republican Party who are hoping for a return of conservative values and real Republicans to the Republican Party. And enough with the squishy, uniparty, unidentifiable Republicans. The Republicans who are rhinos and you can't distinguish them from the Democrats, we're through with that. That era is done. We need to be rid of all those people, and that means calling out things like this if this proves to be true. I trust it because of the source, but I want to see proof, and I want to share that proof.
Yeah, it's good to just to make sure that we have proof on it. But yeah, anybody doing, if Jay Edwards is doing that, that is a major problem. Brian, I want to give you the last word here tonight, and thanks everybody. And Blue 22. We will explain Blue 22 in the next episode. That's how long ago was that? Now, how many years ago?
That was 2 years. That
4.
Was.
I think it's more than 2 years.
No, 3 years. 2023.
All right, about 3 years ago. So it was an incident that happened 3 years ago where there were 22 members of the Ohio House, and they wanted to take over majority and give the majority to Speaker Stevens. So Stevens would have become Speaker of the House, but there was only 22 of them. They didn't have enough votes, so they got all the Democrats to vote with them to accomplish this. And Stevens became Speaker of the House for 2 years, but a complete uproar, and it just ripped apart the Republican Party. And those 22 that did it, 22 Republicans, have become known as the Blue 22, meaning Democrats. Democrats are a bluish color, and Republicans are a reddish color. But hey, what's your last thoughts here, Brian?
I would. My last thought is I would highly recommend all of the registered voters get out and vote on Tuesday. There's a lot of people, in our history that have sacrificed everything just to give you the right to vote. Don't take it for granted. It is a moral duty for everyone to get out there and vote.
Okay.
Regardless of
Hey,
who you're
Joe.
going to vote for.
Yeah. Hang
Just
on one
Joe.
second. Wait. I got something hot off
All right.
the press here.
you've
you
got
see it.
something
You
hot
see
off
it
the
too. So I just Jay Edwards. He just texted me.
I was just going to
He's
read that.
obviously watching the show.
Yep.
So he said, rather than spread lies, have me on. I've never been. Well, come on. We're still rolling live if you want to connect through Zoom. I've never been shy to talk to you guys. I have never asked for any Democrats to vote for me. I'm in favor of closed primaries in Ohio. Okay.
Yeah, if he's got the link, Jay Edwards, if you're out there, if you've got the link, Joe, I was just going to read that. I got the
Okay,
same text.
but
about that.
the point I want to make, Jonathan, is
We want accurate information.
we want accurate information. Yeah, we definitely want accurate information. Jay, if you want to call in right now, it's the same. It is the exact same Zoom link that I sent you before if you'd like to talk for a few minutes. But apparently he is saying that is not true. That is absolutely not true. I had to cut you off, Brian, because that was like an emergency text message.
No, I'm finished. I'm just saying that do your civic duty and get out there and vote on Tuesday. We'd
Yeah.
love to have you vote for the Marcell Strbich and Judge Engler, but get out there and exercise that right. It really is a privilege that we should not just sort of discount and pass off. It's a very important right that we have.
Yeah.
It is the most important right
Exercise
that we
your right.
have.
Joe,
And one last time,
I
here's
just want to
the
also.
Ohio State Treasurer race, Jay Edwards and Christina Rogner. So we are not trying to say anything that is not true. We're just speculating. We were just speculating. I want to make that clear, Jay. We were just speculating. Go ahead, Ken.
So-
Did you have something? Go ahead.
Pop over to my. I just want to thank Rebecca B for. She just got the 11-ounce mug on Ohio Political News just a couple minutes ago. So I appreciate that. 20 minutes ago, notification. So we appreciate that. And you can also get your property tax shirts too on Ohio Political News. We do. I was checking, Joe. We have a couple people in the race for the giveaway, so I'm going to promote it too. We will do if you go to Ohio, the primary result giveaway link and sign up. There's multiple ways to win. And we will hand out or send over to you a $50 Amazon gift card. So we will do that. We were wondering if everybody, and I noticed that people were actually signing up. So we will do the giveaway. Please sign up, and you can sign up throughout the night. We will be probably going from 7 to 9 p.m. So make sure to sign up before then. We will do the giveaway right at the end. There's the countdown. We got 2 days Tuesday night. I think a couple of times we said Monday. There's another. Tomorrow is possibly we'll be doing a town hall get together with the property tax with Brian and John Mara and John Pleshnik. Tuesday night is the election night. I think I've heard Monday night a couple of times, even out of my mouth. So it's Tuesday night, 7 p.m. Primary election result show, and try to get $50 for Amazon. Everybody goes on Amazon, so good luck.
Well, I'm just bummed because I'm ineligible. I can't win that cool $50 gift card. So Tuesday night, that's going to be given away, huh, Kent?
Yes, Tuesday night.
Cool.
And
some lucky person. And Joe, I mean, is it fair to say that if they want their name disclosed, their name will be announced on air?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
It'll
See, now
instantly make them famous.
the criteria here is we're giving a $50 certificate, but the criteria is you have to give us your email address, because we're not going to mail the Amazon gift card to you. We are just going to send you the code. Okay, we're just going to send you the code, and you can just key it in, and you'll have it that way. You'll have it for that way. Now, we're not going anywhere because Jay Edwards said he's calling in. So let's hold on for a minute, and let's hear what he has to say. And
yeah, good. Yeah, you and I
good.
saw that same text message at the same time. He wants to hop on and clear things up. So stay tuned, listening audience. This is Jay Edwards will be joining us to clear things up. And he says in this text message that is entirely untrue. It wouldn't be the first time that misinformation in the days leading up to a primary it started to spread around like wildfire. And I imagine it can be like whack-a-mole to try and put to bed all the rumors that swirl around. But we want to be fair, and we search for the truth.
And I'll give him a minute. If he doesn't connect through Zoom, maybe I'll just call him and put the phone up against the microphone, and he can say what he has to say. But
Hey, Joe, I can't tell you. Here in Lake County, I've been trying to reach out to a gentleman by the name of Jesse Stiles. He's running for Jamie Calendar's seat, and I'm trying to find out from the local politicians what's their stance on the property taxes, so that we can get the information out. To date, he has not reached out to us, so maybe he's waiting for after the primaries. I don't believe he's got a opposition, in the primary. So he will have opposition in November, and we're going to we'll interview the independent candidate and also Mr. Stiles in Lake County.
there's something I wanted to show here, and we'll give it a couple more minutes. Hopefully Jay is able to join us, Jay Edwards. But I do want to play this here. We did a live stream with Strongsville, and Strongsville is like the number one Republican group in the state of Ohio. There's nobody else that comes close. What Shannon Burns does and his whole army of people is just, I've never seen anything like it. They do more than the county parties do. They're bigger than the county parties. And this is just Strongsville. Well, they had an event, and they were talking about Amy Acton. It was kind of like Bash Amy Acton night, because she's running for governor. If she became governor, it would be hell on earth to have her as governor. And I'll just play a couple things here. Let's see if we got some audio here. This was when Bob France was speaking. I don't have audio for it. Yeah, we'll just see something real quick here. Yeah, he did a great job. Let me see if I can get some audio here real quick.
Yeah, it looks like it's another
The
setting
zero
somewhere
you want
else.
is on that side. You have to walk all the way down to one end and come back all the way over here to get the one on that side.
I should have audio, but it's not working. I wonder why.
No, it was working there.
My son,
It was working.
We can hear it now.
Yeah, we did
my
hear
son
it.
in
Here
the
it is.
summer of 2020.
Oh, you can hear it?
Yeah,
was
we can
getting
hear it
ready
now.
for his senior year of football.
Oh,
And my son
I
had
can't.
his football activities like everyone else's.
It's a little
shut down.
quiet, Joe. You may want to bring
Because
the
on March
audio
15th
level
of
up.
2020, Mike DeWine introduced Amy Acton, the director of health,
Is that better?
Yeah.
and the two of them said to us, to all of us, folks, it's temporary. It's just, we need 3 weeks to flatten the curve. Look at that crazy curve. We just need 3 weeks to flatten it. We'll all be good, okay? 1 year later, in March of 2021, they were just starting to say, well, we can do a few of the things we used to do before, but only if you walk on those footprints on the floors and on the ground. Only if you cover your face and make sure you keep that little rat kid of yours face covered too. If that kid breathes, like Tom said, we're all dead. They did that to us. My son in
Yeah,
2020
it was funny
was a part
because
of that.
we got Jay Edwards going to be joining us.
I'm
now.
sorry,
but it
group
was
of
funny
lost
because
kids that have still.
he was talking about when you were in a restaurant, and once you stood up, you had to put a mask on. I remember this vividly. Anytime you stood up, you had to put a mask on. Go to this waiter. I'm sitting down, he's here talking to me, and then I got up to ask where the restroom was, and he was like, put your mask on, put your mask on. I just got to go to the restroom, put your mask on or sit down. It was
Right.
completely bizarre.
COVID didn't exist below 4 feet or something.
Oh, wait a minute. Let me get
The whole
rid of
thing was
this.
ridiculous. Well, that's not John Morrow. You
No.
can't fool us.
All right, hang on one second, John. Or Jay, I mean. I got to put the right name under here.
There we go. Stand by, audience. We've got Jay joining us, and we want to have the right name up.
Jay, can you hear me?
Liger.
Yes. Can you hear me?
Yes. All right, so set us straight, okay? And apologize for any misinformation here, but set us straight. What, any truth to what was we were speculating about, so let us know, please. Oh, boy. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. Sorry about that. It went away for a second, your audio.
Wow, I'm having
Repeat
problems
the
with my
question,
audio
Joe.
big time. Sorry about that. Okay, so what I'm asking for is we made a statement that you were asking Democrats to vote for you. But we weren't saying that it was gospel truth. We were just saying that someone had heard this rumor. Now, I know in election days, you can't believe 99% of stuff you hear. But anyhow, we threw it out there, and I want to give you a chance to vindicate yourself, please.
Yeah, it's kind of funny. My front yard, as you can imagine, has been neglected for a little while. So I was out mowing my grass tonight, doing some weed eating and things that I haven't done, and the woman in my life has been on me for a while of getting that taken care of, and my phone started blowing up saying they're saying stuff about you on high political news, and I guess the part that it was that to say that, it's like I've been a friend of you guys, and I'm not still am, and I just if you heard something like that, all you got to do is text me or call me. I'm always a text or a call away. I'm assuming this comes from a video that a labor guy shared that said I was explaining to people. And by the way, I've done this all over the state of Ohio. I ran into somebody last night at an event that said, I am so enthused to vote for Marcell Strbich, was who this lady told me, but I've never voted in a primary before. So at the end of this video, I said, I need your help. I need your support. The same thing we're all asking people to vote, and explain the process to people that when you go to vote on Tuesday, you go in, you have to ask for a Republican ballot. There are a lot of, by the way, the majority of people in Ohio are unregistered voters. They are not Republicans or Democrats because they do not vote in primaries. So if people do not vote in primaries, You tell them how to go vote in a primary, and you tell them to make sure they ask for a Republican ballot. Now, I did send this. There was a labor video out there. By the way, about 80% of the carpenters in the state of Ohio, you know what their number one issue is? Illegal immigrants coming and taking their jobs, being paid cash under the table. They ask me all the time, when are we going to start drug testing welfare recipients? The majority of their members are 100% on board and vote for Donald Trump, but they are not registered Republicans because they don't vote in primaries. So when you have somebody that's never voted in a primary, at the end of the video, I say, if you plan to show up and vote for me, go in to your vote on May 5th between 6:30 a.m. and 7:30 p.m. Make sure you ask for a Republican ballot and vote for Jay Edwards for state treasurer. I've never once asked anyone, any Democrat, to vote for me. I never would. When Jim Renacci was trying to pass the closed primaries, I was one of the first people we came to Columbus and met with. I'm a fan of closed primaries. Quite frankly, I've watched sheets down here in 80 to 85% Republican counties in Southeast Ohio where you have a bunch of Democrats that vote in a Republican primary because they know they're never going to have a Democrat to vote for, and they want to get in the more moderate Republican. And so for somebody to say I've tried to target Republican or Democrats to get them to vote in Republican primary is absolutely ridiculous. I'm trying to target every possible voter I can, and I think my message of getting rid of property taxes, by the way, as we're circulating petitions on property taxes, I don't think we're asking people if they're Democrat or Republicans. We're asking people if they're sick of the state wasting their money and they want to get away from renting their home and owning it. Number two, I think people like myself, people that are the grassroots candidates, and we know who some of those are that are on the ballot, have inspired people around the state that typically don't vote in primaries to show up and vote for us. So as we're explaining and telling people, unlike a general election where everybody gets the same ballot, you go in, you have to ask for a Republican ballot. I want to tell your viewers that. When you go in, make sure you ask for a Republican ballot and vote for Jay Edwards.
Will do. Will do. Great job, Jay, and apologize.
No, it's all right.
We just have a lot of, flim flam, but I apologize. Now, we never said that this was the gospel truth,
Yes, I got
like gospel stuff, but that's not right. We shouldn't be doing that either.
No, I got you. Just whenever you hear something, text me. Hey, I'll come in. We're going to disagree sometimes, and I'll come on and defend my position, and you defend yours. When we walk away, and Joe, every time I see you at an event, I'll still come up and say hi to you and shake your hand and smile at you, and we'll go on and get along. Nobody should agree all the time, but I'm always available. It was kind of funny. I was out mowing my grass, trying to work around the yard, and my phone just started blowing up. So you got a lot of people listening to you, including a lot of my supporters, that were confused because I wasn't shy about this. People posted this video. I was sharing it and liking it. And at the end of it, it said, make sure when you go to vote, you ask for a Republican ballot. And somehow one member of the state central committee, which, by the way, shouldn't be endorsing in open primaries, but for some reason they feel like they need to put their thumb on the scale. You'd think they'd learn their lesson after they endorsed John Kasich and Mike DeWine. But for some reason, they still feel like they need to endorse. I know you don't, Joe. Started sending out emails telling people that based on this video and based on what I said, which was make sure you ask for a Republican ballot, was me trying to ask Democrats to vote. That's not the case. That's never been the case. I've never targeted Democrats or had any relationship with Democrats. Go to my Facebook comments. You'll see I'm called a Nazi and a racist, just like every other Republican. It just is one state central committee person that is part of the establishment that doesn't want to see an outsider grassroots candidate, or probably somebody that's upset that I signed the property tax petition. One of the only two, I think, statewide candidates to sign that and take that position, as well as not only have I signed it, I'm sending out mailers. Look at what one of those marks are on a mailer. Jay Edwards wants to eliminate property taxes in the state of Ohio.
Well,
I'm very proud of that position. I think it's time something needs done on it, and I'm not shying away from it like some people are. So the fact that we're sending out mailers with me and Trump on it, and me and JD and me and Bernie, and I'm sharing all this stuff on Facebook, I would never ask for a Democrat. Quite frankly, it would be a terrible strategy. My entire campaign strategy is built on the fact that I've been endorsed by JD Vance. So
excellent.
Unless Democrats all of a sudden are liking JD Vance, that's news to me.
Well, we are going to do the election night coverage tomorrow night. We will be tracking you against Christina Rogner, and so that's one of the main candidates here we're going to be keeping an eye on. But I'm also going to say this: if you have any time on Tuesday,
Yes.
please call in, and we'll just banter, talk a little bit. It'll be fun to talk to you. I'm going to try to get other candidates to call in and talk to them as well. And it's an exciting night. And so we wish you the best of luck, and I really appreciate
Absolutely.
you.
I appreciate it, Joe. And
I
and
appreciate you
no hard
texting
feelings
us
at
the
all.
way you did.
I'm glad you guys got a lot of fans, because that meant a lot of people texting me and a lot of people for me to. And I appreciate you guys having me right on to clear it up. I understand mistakes happen. I get it. But I'm tired of paying $600 million for the Cleveland Browns to build a football stadium. I'm tired of Somali fraud, and I'm tired of us renting our houses. So please vote for me on Tuesday. You guys have me on. Text me, Joe, and let me know what time you'd like to have me on Tuesday. And I look forward to it. We'll talk soon.
Great. Thank you, Jay. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Jay.
All right. Well, that's good. That's good. Any
Yeah,
parting words?
The way that it should work. It's a beautiful thing. The speed of instant communication. So I get a message, and it gets passed through to Jay Edwards. Jay Edwards came right on to clear things up and tell his side of the story, and that's the way that it should work. That's the way I think that the left and mainstream media are sorely lacking right now. They don't care to delve into the details. And yes, we are sometimes going to get things wrong, make an error, miscommunicate something that's bound to happen, but handling it gracefully and handling it quickly to try and get and fight for accurate information and the truth. That's what we're all about here at Ohio Political News. So again, I'm going to put out there my position on this, and I'd love Jay Edwards taking the time to join us and express his position on these matters. And there are a number of them. I wish we had another half hour for the show. Like when it comes to endorsements, his advocacy for abolishing property taxes, etc., those are greatly appreciated. If you see these sorts of things, or you think you see them, let's flesh them out, get them to Ohio Political News. Joe, you're going to give the email address. I'm going to ask you for that again, for people to give us tips, news, and information to make sure that we're covering what's happening in Ohio.
Better believe
Joe,
it.
what is the email address? It's Joe at
It's
Ohio
just simply
Political News.
Joe, and I'll show you here at the bottom here, joe@ohiopoliticalnews.com. So if you have a
There
news
we go.
story, or you know somebody who
Right
might
in the
want to
banner.
be a guest or come on or anything, we would appreciate it. Not so fast. Thoughts on the governor's race? Well, I'll tell you who I'm not voting for. And this is probably too easy. I shouldn't even say this. Heather Hill and Stuart Motes. Although Stuart's been really, really great, a really great guy. And I would love to have Stuart as a co-host once in a while. But they had a bashing, pulling away. So the Stuart Motes
that
and
got
Heather
ugly.
Hill campaign has bit the dust. But as far as Casey Putz and Vivek Ramaswamy, I'm going to leave that to you guys real quick. Comments on that real fast, Brian.
Do I have any other options? I mean, Casey Putz is, he's worked pretty hard on the campaign trail, and I won't get into details of how I interacted with him. Probably not important, but I also met with Vivek Ramaswamy. And he has called me. He said that, I can say that I was told by a news source that there's going to be a news article that said that the Vivek Ramaswamy campaign offered Brian Massey $10 million to kill the whole abolish property tax movement. That is a slam against Mr. Ramaswamy. That is not true. Just want to make sure that everybody understands that. If they hear any of that or see anything written about that, that is not true. We wish them, Mr. Putz and Mr. Ramaswamy, well, and we'll see what happens. I don't believe either one of them are voting or with us on the abolishment of the property taxes completely. I know Mr. Ramaswamy is not, and Casey has been a little, I'd say, loosey-goosey on the whole issue.
All right. Well, listen, guys. We're going to call it a night. Both candidates have pluses and minuses. Vivek was endorsed by the Ohio Republican Party, but we'll see. We'll see how it all plays out. My feeling on it is that Vivek is probably going to win. I think he's. If Pooch can get 15% of the vote, that would be amazing. That would be very, very amazing, in my opinion. We'll see. We'll see how it all plays out and everything. All right, we're going to be Tuesday. Please, in the chat room and join us Tuesday, and we will we'll be talking then, okay? You guys have yourself a good night. Casey said he signed the petition. He did. He signed it. Very good. All right, have yourself a good night, everybody.
Thank you very much, Mr. Pooch.
God bless you all. See you.
Bye.